Hey, welcome back to Startup Screen Printing Podcast. My name is Jesse. Listen, I've got a great interview today. This is a guy named Cody Miles, and he created an application called Ashore. Now, many of you have seen me talk about Ashore in the past, whether it be on my Friday lunch breaks when we were doing those, or through other social media videos or anything like that. But if you're looking for a better proofing system for your business, you are sending the art proofs to your customers, maybe you're emailing them a PDF or an image, or you're texting it to them, you're having a difficult time keeping track of what feedback they want or whether things are approved or not, and finding the emails and it's emails and text messages and things like that. It's so easy for it all to get scattered. Well, I have looked for years for the right proofing system that I feel like fits well with the workflow of a screen print business, all the way back when I was running the shop that I used to work at. And even back before I started running that shop, when I was just running the art department, I struggled to find a proofing system that really fit the workflow of a screen print business and that I felt like was a system that was easy to use and really did proofing well. Now, I know some other systems like Printavo, and some of the other shop management softwares out there have proofing capabilities built in, and I just haven't been impressed with those. From a designer perspective and knowing the workflow that needs to happen when you're sending proofs to a client, because I've done this in other industries, whether it be photography industry when I was sending proofs there at a photography studio, or when I was working in marketing departments, and sending proofs to other departments to get approvals on email mockups and things like that. I know what it takes to have a quality proofing system, and I got to be honest with you, Ashore does it better than any I've ever used. Not only that, they have the most generous free plan I have ever seen, and so that really is what got me to give them a try. Well, I tried it and I was blown away, and so I reached out to the owner, Cody, who's going to be in this interview, and I asked him, "Hey, can I promote this? Do you have an affiliate account? Or if not, can you jump on the podcast? I want to hear about your system." And so I had Cody join me to talk about why he created Ashore, and to really just talk about the journey he's had as an entrepreneur, because I think you're going to find some value in this, not only as a screen printer and how to use their system, but also what the importance of a proofing system can play inside of a business. So I had Cody join me. We did actually set up an affiliate partnership. So he's going to give you some guidelines on how to get a lifetime discount on the application if you want to use it. But again, you can just use the free version. I think it is plenty for screen printers, but I've been using it in my business. I plan to always use it because I think it's great. And I think there's a ton of value in having a dedicated proofing system that does this really well rather than something that is just a side part of a greater program, something like Printavo and stuff. Not to knock on Printavo, it's a great system, great application. The others are great too, but there's just something I really appreciate about a system that's dedicated to a single task and it does it really well. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump into this interview with Cody. I want you to let me know what you think in the comments. And I want to let you know if you've seen another proofing system that is better than this, but I've yet to find one. I think there's nothing better from what I've seen than what Ashore provides. And again, their free version is extremely generous. You can utilize the free version for years in your business and operate at a high level. And I think you will be satisfied um, with the workflows and the systems and how Ashore operates. It really is a great system. It works really well for screen printers. So let's jump into the interview. I'll be back at the end to wrap it up. So
Okay.
happy to talk to Cody Miles today. You guys have seen me talk about this new platform that I've been using to send proofs to customers a lot here lately. I've mentioned it to a lot of you through direct messages over on the Print Crew as well, and then on Instagram, of course, we've showcased it in some of our Friday live Q&As. So if you've joined those or you've watched the replay, then you've seen what Cody's going to talk about. But Cody is the founder of Ashore, and he's going to talk to us about why he created the platform, where he got started, how he kind of created his business. And then we're going to get into the value of a proofing software for a screen print business or for any business that's using design and creative aspects that they need customers' approval on. So, Cody, excited to have you on, man. I appreciate your willingness to join. I actually reached out to Cody to see if he had a willingness to join this because I just fell in love with the platform very quickly, and have enjoyed using it with my business. So, Cody, welcome. Why don't you give us an introduction
Thanks,
about who you
Jesse.
are and why you started Ashore and kind of where you got your beginnings?
Yeah, and appreciate you so much for making the time to do this. Um, my name is Cody. I run a software company here in Austin, Texas called Ashore. I don't come from a print background. I've spent the last yeah, 10 plus years, almost 15 years now, working in a creative agency context. And early in my career, I noticed almost immediately that there's one thing that causes agencies to really struggle in terms of production and revenue, and it is getting work approved. At one of the bigger agencies that I worked at, there were two people that were hired full time, and they were just box checkers. They were just the people who ultimately project managers, but really were just following up with clients and trying to get feedback and trying to understand feedback and trying to get approval on files. And that stayed with me. I eventually, in 2015, started my own creative agency and experienced it firsthand myself. Um, Ashore was really kind of birthed out of the need to make clients respond to you in the first
Yeah.
place. And when they respond, that you could actually understand what they're talking about, and to automate the approval process and do it in a way that makes your organization look more credible, make your organization look prettier. Uh, Whenever I started Ashore, it was just a product for me and for the agency that I was working at, and we put it out there in the world and very quickly attracted. Last year, I mean, we had 100,000 users on the platform, and it's just kind of been kind of an amazing thing to see that, like, yeah, I'm not the only guy that struggles with these things. Like anybody who works in any sort of creative context,
Mhm.
whether you're a printer or your marketing agency, you all more or less struggle with working with customers. And they used to say at one of the agencies I used to work at that running an agency would be great if not for the clients. So that's more or less how I got here. But more importantly, I'm a father of two and a husband to my wife, Amy, of 11 years now.
Awesome. Yeah, I love how you say more
Yeah.
importantly, family being the
Yeah.
first thing. I love that. That is absolutely my passion as well. And doing these side gigs that I do, they come second. I do this stuff during the day so that I don't
Yeah.
have to do it in the evenings, and take away from the time with my family. So that's super cool. Um,
Yeah.
so when I was getting started in screen printing, back in 2013, I think it was, as a designer, I came in as a designer, and that's what I was hired to do, is manage the design and production of a print shop. And so I immediately
Sure.
felt those pains of getting the customers to respond, or understanding what they were referencing when they would talk about a change to make. And it's like, well, which part of it are you actually talking about? And so I looked for proofing software, and it was always hard to find one that actually fit the workflow that I needed. And so I say all that to say there are other options out there. What
Yeah.
directed you to create your own rather than using what was already available? And, like, what differentiated that in your mind, or what have you kind of focused ashore in being different?
Yeah. That's a great question. There's a few things that come to mind when you ask that question. This might be a little bit of a stream of conscious because I think all of the features of Ashore are really product
Yeah.
differentiators. But I think one of the main things in my context as someone who ran a creative agency, not necessarily as a printer, but this is true for large printers, is the ability to automate the approval
Mm,
process. The ability to say, you know what, like before anything goes to a customer, we actually need to QA it. So when we create that proof and we create it from, Figma or Adobe products, and when we use Adobe products, we can send it directly into Ashore, and we can send it to that first internal review process where the project manager, whoever reviews it, approves it. And when they approve it, it is automatically sent to the customer or the client, in our case, in a creative agency. And when it's sent to them, it's sent from the correct person. So even if I'm not me personally, but if I were the designer, I can still send it on behalf of the
mm,
CSR, right,
yeah.
or the account executive. It's fully white labeled. I think the differentiators here is the automation in this
Mhm.
case, the white labeling component, because we white label your emails, what the emails look like, the review screens themselves, what the review screens look like. I mean, every part of the experience is white labeled so that no one knows the name of Ashore, but they know that you are a rock star,
Mhm.
right? And then there's some smaller features that I think differentiate Ashore from other proofing software as well. One of the cool ones that we released this year is real-time collaboration. So this is a Figma-like experience if you're familiar with this product, where if you're a reviewer on the proof and I'm on the proof as well, I can see you moving around. I can see your cursor on screen. I can get notifications immediately when you make decisions or comments. I can respond to those things in real time. And then I think one of the bigger features that printers love is the ability to provide checklists when someone goes to sign off on a proof, to ultimately say, I approve this to go to production. I fully accept the responsibility or any liabilities if I
Mhm.
have made any mistakes while reviewing, all these sort of things. I've checked for spelling, colors, whatever. Um, and then one more thing, I think I could go on,
Yeah, I'm sure.
but one more thing I think that printers love is we do have an option that when you send a proof, and they make that decision, you can stop them from making additional comments. And this is the
Mm.
clincher, because sometimes
Yep.
you get that approval, right? And then they come back and they make a comment, and you've already gone to production, and you're still having that conversation
Yeah.
of, is this my fault or your fault?
Mhm.
And who pays for the reprint,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great call out. I didn't even think about that part because I mean, it's a popular designer meme out there, right? Like your final underscore final final, final three,
that's
final,
right. Yeah,
and it
yeah.
definitely happens. I mean, I just had an order recently where someone was like, "Oh shoot, I really meant to change this. Is it too late?" And I'm like, "Well, you're in luck.
Hmm.
It's not, but you did already approve it."
Yeah,
So, I'm thinking to myself, I could have printed this and you would have been out of luck,
that's
you know?
right. That's right.
And it's
Yeah,
I think that's like, let's talk about the value in having proofing software, like, what's the difference in, just emailing? Because I think that's what most people are
yeah,
gonna get started doing, unless they're the big shops, or unless they have enough workload, it's not really that big of a deal to just email 1 or 2 people a week, or is it?
right.
Like, what are those other, time sucks that really make a proofing software valuable for even the or maybe especially for the solo shops that it's just a one-man
Yeah,
show?
yeah. So if you're not using a proofing software and you are relying on email to send proofs and receive feedback and manage approvals, you're going to find some issues that are just common to any creative. One, you're going to have a more frustrated customer experience. Um, when it is difficult to provide feedback, or when there are multiple revisions because you didn't understand the feedback,
Mhm,
you are going to inevitably lead to frustrated customers and lower lifetime values of your
mhm,
customers. Um, if you are doing more than just a couple proofs a week, those delays in approval as a result of kind of poor automation here are going to result in delayed production. And if you're trying to run on a schedule, your schedule now is up to whenever your customer can respond to the proof and whenever you can get approval, right?
mhm,
Um, if you may or may not be doing this in your own workflow, but if you're charging a flat rate for the design, every revision is counted against um, that margin,
mhm,
right? So it ultimately leads to decreased margins. Of course, that wouldn't be true if you're doing a T&M situation.
mhm.
Um, if you are sending, how many have I done so far? Is that three?
I don't know.
Okay, I can go on. No,
Just keep
okay.
going, it's good.
Number
Yeah.
four. Yeah. If you are sending proofs via email, inevitably your feedback is going to get lost in
Mm,
email
yeah.
threads. And more importantly, um, there becomes opportunity for you to miss something. Um, so let's say, for example, you are in, let's say your print shop's not just you, it's you and even just one other person. If one of you goes on vacation and one of you has been communicating with a customer, the other person has no idea. That's lost in the email thread,
Hmm.
right? We don't have a central source of truth for like what is the actual status of the proof?
Yeah.
What communication has happened? What back and forth is there? It's locked within your own email inbox unless you're using a group email or these sort of things. Um, and something number five, if I'm counting correctly, would be overall. I think when designers, especially designers, love to create,
Yeah.
right? This is why they got into it. They dislike doing
Yeah.
revisions. They dislike having to have meetings with clients just to understand what their feedback
Yeah.
was, right? And I think overall, and this is extremely true in creative agencies, your turnover rates are
Mm.
huge. Creative agencies have high
Yeah.
turnover. This could be true for printers as well, for print designers. I'm not certain, but I would suspect it probably is. And it's just because of burnout, it's fatigue, right? So what is a way that you can give joy back to your designers, and improve, overall your retention rates with your own employees if you just give them a better platform for receiving feedback?
Hmm.
And then maybe the last thing here, is overall, your customers do not speak the same language as
Mm.
you or your
Yeah.
designers. Um, they refer to things in language that is unfamiliar to you. You talk about things in language that is unfamiliar to them. We might be talking about like a black opaque overlay on top of an image, right? And this happened to me one time. And your customer might say, "What? Remove the ghosting." And you're like, "There's no ghost. There's no ghost on this file. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" And this is just because we don't speak the same language. And when your feedback is outside of the context of the thing you're talking about, now there's an interpretation error here, and we have to like cognitively understand not just what you were talking about but where you were talking about
Yeah.
it. So what a proofing software is going to do for you is it's going to take that feedback, and whatever feedback it's going to be, it's going to shove it into some context on your PDF, on your image, on your video, whatever it has to be. And that someone literally has to point at something and say, this thing is the thing that I don't like,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? um, and then they have to submit their feedback in a way that the feedback is contextual.
Hmm.
So what that does overall, and this is true for Ashore at least, it reduces overall the number of revisions that your organization is going to have with your customers. It's going to improve your approval rates, how often you get approval,
Hmm.
and it's going to get you files into production sooner. So yeah, those are all the reasons you should be using a
Yeah.
proofing software.
Yeah.
If I haven't convinced you already.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope so. Anybody listening to this that's, even just getting started in their business, there's not really any reason not to, because the sooner you get these workflows in place in your business for things like this, the more, you're going to appreciate, the time it's gonna save you and the fewer revisions, like you said. There are a few other things about the platform that I think from a business perspective are valuable, and this may or may not be unique to Ashore, but it's something that I very much appreciate because one of the things is what screen printers often will do, and most designers will do in some sort of proofing software. Something that's popular you'll see is a watermark, and that's because
Mm,
everybody's afraid that the customer is going to take that artwork and go somewhere else and use it. Because at the end of the day, even if it's the customer's artwork, the presentation of that artwork belongs to the shop. And you're always afraid that they're going to take your proof and go elsewhere and say, here's what I wanted, even though this other shop took the time to set it up. This other one is a better price, and they're afraid. Now, I don't want to get into my philosophy on that. You don't want that customer anyways, but protecting that
yeah,
intellectual property, there's a little toggle on Ashore that I just love, and it is don't allow them to download the files. And so you can turn that
yeah.
on or off. And so why does something like that exist? Is that the reason, or are there other reasons that something like that might
Hmm.
come into play for proofing software that caused you to include that feature?
You've nailed it on the head. This is about protecting your art proofs from getting downloaded and then going over to the next print shop down the
Mhm.
street, or going to Vistaprint,
Yeah.
right, with your art proof. Um, yeah, this is about protecting your IP. That's 100% the reason it's there. Um, there's a lot of functionality in Ashore in particular, that allows you to manage what your approvers can and can't see in terms of your files. There's another toggle in there. It's kind of worded a little strange, but it's called limit version visibility. And what it does when you have it turned on, let's say for whatever reason you had an internal review process where you went back and forth on a PDF for a couple of different
Mhm.
versions. The thing you don't want your customers to see is your internal dialogue and feedback and
Mm.
other earlier versions that weren't meant for them.
Yeah.
So what that when that toggle is turned on, the approver only sees versions of a PDF that were meant to be seen by them. And even on top of that, you can manage the files and the versions that are visible inside of Ashore.
Yeah.
Features like that, and features like the other proof toggle here for allowing the approver to download the proof, all just come down to making sure that you're protecting yourself and presenting yourself in the absolute best light. If you're a small print shop, doing this like very inexpensive software takes you from here to here in
Mhm.
terms of your presentation layer, right?
Yeah.
It makes you look like you really have, and you guys probably all do, right? I'm not saying no one doesn't have their stuff together, but it makes you look really, really
Yeah.
professional when that customer receives that branded email and that branded review screen, and they don't even realize what they don't have,
Mhm.
right? Like if you didn't turn on that option to download the PDF, the proof, they don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
So there's some really great things about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's really great. I know early on, or up until I started using Ashore, I would actually save my PDFs in a certain way that limited someone's ability to rip the stuff out
Mm,
of that, because designers know that you can pull most PDFs into Illustrator and start ripping it to pieces, and you can get vector artwork out of there and,
yeah,
use that to do high
yeah,
quality prints, if that PDF was not exported
yeah,
correctly. That's less of a concern now.
yeah.
I don't have to be as concerned about that.
I don't know if you know this, but we actually rasterize every single PDF that gets uploaded to
Even
Ashore.
better.
And so what we do is we take that PDF and we flatten every single page and we make an array of images, and that is what your approvers see.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so they could never download the PDF in the first place unless you had provided that option.
Yeah.
So you really are protected without having to have watermarks and otherwise cover up your
Yeah.
proofs.
Yeah. No, that's great. One of the other issues that I always ran into with screen printing is I'd email a proof to someone and they would do what many of us do. They would pop it open on their phone and they would kind of look and say, uh, yeah, that looks fine. But what did they not do? They didn't zoom in. They didn't really make sure that all
Mhm.
the details were correct. And so I just had a customer 6 months ago that said, I looked at this on my phone and I didn't even notice that it was the old logo. And I printed like maybe 75 hoodies for them. And I was like, I'm really
Wow.
sorry. There's not really anything I can do
Yeah.
about it because I sent it to you and you approved it." And she knew that. She was like,
Yeah.
"I know I didn't look close enough."
Yeah.
And so while that wasn't my fault, I appreciate having something else that, while you can open up, I believe Ashore is mobile friendly, where it's
Yeah.
responsive,
Of
so you could
course.
open
Yeah.
up on a
Yeah.
device. But this is where things like those checklists come into play, where they have to actually say, and I don't see those checklists as ways to trap the customer. I see them as
Hmm.
ways to remind them, like, "Hey, are you
Yeah.
sure? Like, I don't want to mess this up any more than you do, but I just want to make sure." Yeah, there is that CYA area where you're trying to kind of cover your
Yeah.
business, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's kind of a like, "Hey, I just want to be sure because I'm trying to provide you the best product possible." So I really can't. I mean, you've mentioned the checklists and um, so let's just talk about in detail, what are those checklists? When you mentioned that, what is that? How does that function
Hmm.
work? And what's the ability for someone like myself that's running that platform? What am I able to do with those? And is there a limit to how many I can create? And what value does that really
Yeah.
provide? Hey, I want to take a quick break from the content today. I hope you're enjoying the video so far, but I want to invite you to something special. I've got a challenge called the Print for Profit Challenge. And over 3 days, I take you through everything you need to know to ensure that you're being profitable in your business, that you're prepared to scale, and that you have a vision that allows you to align your goals and get to that next level. So I want you to join me at an upcoming challenge. I'm being joined by Jonathan Overmeyer of Golden Press Studio, and Jonathan and I are excited to walk you through each of these 3 days of this challenge. So there are two ways to join. You can join at the general admission, but I would encourage you to upgrade to the VIP experience so that you can get access to the recordings for 30 days, plus access to live Q&A with myself and Jonathan after all three of the sessions. So go to the link in the description. It'll be down there. It's called the Print for Profit Challenge. And this is the opportunity for you to take your business to the next level and ensure that you're profitable from day one, or that you begin to be profitable from now moving forward. So I'll see you in the challenge.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good question. So actually, in Ashore, you could have many different checklists, and each checklist contains a list of things that you're going to require someone to select when they go to approve your proof. The reason that we provide multiple checklists is for the different scenarios you might have when you're working with different kinds of customers, different types of artwork that you need to get approved, or potentially even different approval stages,
Mhm.
right? So let's say you have a terrible scenario where you have to send it to this group and they have to approve, and then another group has to approve. But like when you send it to the first group, they need to sign off on certain things. And then when it sends to the next group, they need to sign off on different
Okay.
things. A more easy scenario to think of that is like an internal review
Yeah.
process before you send something to a customer. We're signing off on different things. And in all cases, we need that immutable audit log that says, when I approve this proof at this time and at this date, these are the things that I signed off on. And that, that can be different. And so what Ashore is, at least Ashore is trying to accomplish in this case, is serving, not just the CYA, but overall improving the way that we communicate with ourselves and with our customers.
Mhm.
The thing that Ashore gives for the user of Ashore, not the customer, is this total complete audit log of every status change, everything that says the proof was created on this date, these files were uploaded to it, it was sent to the customer on this date, the customer got the email was delivered, they clicked on the email, they viewed the proof. Every single event is captured so that we can read the history of the proof and know exactly what happened and when.
Mhm.
Inevitably, if you're in this business long enough, you'll say, "Yeah, I sent you that proof last Tuesday," and they'll say, "I never got that." And you're like, "I kind of know you did.
Yeah.
I saw that you got the email, that it was delivered, that you opened it, that you clicked the link. I saw you viewed it these two different times on these two different
Mhm.
dates." Like all of that becomes readily captured, and that's just really so that we have like knowledge and the power
Yeah.
to, correctly operate our business and make sure that we're working off of truths and,
Mhm.
not half
Yeah.
truths, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I've actually
Yeah.
brought up that scenario when I was going over it in one of my live Q&As a week or so ago, and I was like, you may have a customer that said, I didn't, like you said, I didn't see it. I'm like, actually, on Monday at
Hmm.
3 o'clock, you opened it up and looked at it, and so
Absolutely. Yeah.
again, it's
Yeah.
not really to trap the customer, but it's to make sure that, like you said, you're working under truths, and that both parties are being
Hmm.
honest, and that if your customer is being
Yeah.
dishonest, then you know that you can, like, okay, well, if you're not gonna be honest with me, then we're gonna focus on a different order that's a little more priority,
Yeah.
and you can take that
Yeah.
into consideration as you do business with customers, because none of us ever want to admit it, but it is okay to fire a customer. Um, all right, so let's
Yeah.
pivot for a
Absolutely.
minute and talk about
Sure.
one of my favorite parts of Ashore, and this is not necessarily a part that benefits you directly immediately,
Okay.
um, and that is that it is the most generous free plan that I've seen of any proofing platform, and that was, to be honest, one of the reasons I was willing to try it out last year when I first
Hmm.
started using the platform, and I thought, well, it's allowing me to do way more than some of the other proofing platforms were doing. So not only did I love the workflows that it was allowing, but I could use it for free. Why does that free plan exist? Because I know enough from my development background to know that a free plan is not always easy for a SaaS to survive. And so why
Yeah.
is that a part of your business right now?
Yeah. I think the beauty of Ashore is that we are a bootstrap company that just grew by creating a product for ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Um, and like probably many of you, I also started from ground zero, right? Started the company and I made nothing my first few years. And Um, eventually, as my own business grew, I was able to adopt the tools that I had probably been using the free version of. I think of platforms like HubSpot and
Mhm.
other products that have more product-led growth. Um, I think when we do this naturally, there is a longer tail from someone who signs up and someone who becomes a customer.
Yeah.
If we and we have in the past experimented with different pricing models, but the reality is, if we move to a free trial today, we would have more conversions upfront. The difference is, how long do those customers stay with us and how
Mm.
loyal are they to our
Yeah.
product, right? Um, I don't want you paying for Ashore unless you understand the value of what we're offering,
Yeah.
right? This product really has to mean something to you. So the freemium plan here is really meant just to say, like, we're going to give away as much as possible to make sure you really understand what this can do for your business. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a fan of, like, let's prove this out.
Mhm.
Let's show you that you can actually get like a 50% faster approval on your files because of our automation and the automatic reminders and these sort of things. And then guess what? There's a whole bunch of other features, not just like the amount of files that you send, but all of the white labeling functionality and all the other upgrades that we offer. That it's not that expensive even if you sign up. So it's really great for the solopreneur, for the SMB, even for the mid market.
Mhm.
It's a product that's meant to serve all of us very well.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that the freemium model in this case, like, I mean, a company, a small screen printer, somebody that's solo shop getting started out of their home could use Ashore effectively to benefit their business for well over a year
Yeah,
and be
totally.
just fine and to the point where you're actually making their business money. And
Yeah,
so then when it comes time to make these upgrades, I love that so many of the upgrades are not necessarily that you withheld features or like functionality of the platform, but um that white label option, that option to say, "Hey,
yeah,
we've helped your business grow and have these efficiencies and essentially made money. Um, now let's if you kick some money our way, let's take it and actually make it look like your business is actually getting even bigger
yeah,
and growing." And that's a
yeah,
different take on um, those features that you've kind of allowing in those next levels. So, what is there
yeah.
was there a conscious effort on that too, of not withholding as many features or functionality, but then adding some of these further customizations to just take and build on the existing feature set that's there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shore is it's a really simple product at its inherently. It's just a tool that helps you, send files and get better quality feedback and get that feedback
yeah,
faster, right? So if you're sending less than, 50 files per month, or, you don't send that many files, like, the product that we have serves the person who sends a lot of files, um, and what we call the high velocity creative,
mhm,
right? The customer of Ashore is the high velocity creative, someone who has lots of files that they need to get approved, um, and ultimately has trouble managing them, or perhaps is even working with a team and everyone's sending files and trying to understand what the status of these things are.
yeah,
I don't think we would have reached 100,000 users last year if we hadn't been generous enough with the model. But the reality is also that whenever you turn on that white labeling functionality and you white label every part of Ashore,
mhm,
your approval ratings do increase. So there is an incentive that we do gate the most important
yeah,
feature in a really major way, because when you can white label the email, and when you can white label every part of the experience from your reviewer's perspective, you really have just taken all of the barriers to adoption away,
mhm,
right? When you receive that email from me, it's coming from me, right? And you know me. You don't know what Ashore is,
mhm,
right? And when you get that email from Ashore, there is a level of adoption, and every printer works with people who are not tech
yeah,
savvy, right? And so what Ashore has to be is the product that every software product in the world takes time to understand and
yeah,
adopt. So how do you? This is a very hard task. How do you create the software experience, the review experience, where someone who, let's say they're in their 60s, maybe even their 70s, right? They're just not the tech savvy user, but they get that email and they open up the review link, and intuitively, right, they know what they're meant to do.
Mhm.
They know I see that there is a way to add comments. I see this really big green approval button or this red not approved button.
Mhm.
And the white labeling features really help overcome those barriers.
Mhm.
So we always encourage it, right?
Yeah.
If you discover in your own process, like this is working, but there are cases where it doesn't. It really works when you have white labeling.
Mhm.
So that's a big driver for that, and for us, obviously, having a profitable company
Yeah.
where we can prove our value to you early, but then like you can really experience the full amount of value when you go into a premium plan. But people can even sign up just for one user for $18 a month with no commitment, and that does unlock some of that white labeling features. So like at every point of the journey, we're just trying to build more and more confidence and
Mhm.
trust, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the, like, to make this connect with where I direct screen print businesses is, to me, I see this as a way to take, and provide not additional services, but additional value to your best customers, for
Hmm.
to those who truly
Yeah,
want to go deep into your platform and use it to make their business look better. Because like you said, there's a trust factor there from your customer too. There's one side where you're
yeah,
saying, hey, you're going to get a proof, and then sometimes having to say, well, that's coming from an ashore.com or ashore proof email address,
yeah, right,
versus coming from the customer or from your business's email address. There's a difference there. But the
yeah,
unfortunate reality is that a lot of screen print businesses are even years into their business and they're still using a Gmail, and it drives me
yeah, yeah,
crazy
yeah,
because it's a
absolutely,
simple fix.
yeah,
But that trust
yeah,
factor of having your branding on there is big. But one thing I encourage a lot of print shops to do is to not focus on providing extra services or even discounts, but instead to promote value, to add value. And where you're going to add that value is to your best customers, because those are going to be the ones who are really going to drive the growth in your business. And to me, it seems like that's how this set up is, how are we going to
yeah,
take the customers who have dedicated to using us enough to not give them more features to learn, but take the ones that we already have and make them even more valuable. And
that's right.
yeah, so I think it is a great setup. And like you said, it's very affordable. So I would encourage anyone listening, do the free plan and try it out and test it out with a
Yeah,
few orders. But my guess is very quickly you're going to see that extra value that you're going to get for a little bit, just a small cost. I mean, your monthly plans are, what are the plans? I think there's 3 tiers, right?
yeah.
So what are
Well,
those?
three tiers if you include the free
Yeah,
plan. So yeah, we have a forever free plan. We also have a $18 a month plan, and that's a $18 per user. So
yeah,
it's month to month. It's 20% lower if you decide to go annual, but even then you're paying 160 something a year for one user. It's really
yeah,
very
it
inexpensive.
is.
And when you go on that standard plan, that's what the standard plan is, $18 a month plan. You basically get a limit of 150 files per month, which in a small organization, that's more than
Yeah,
enough, right? We're going to store your files for a long time. And then for every additional user you add, you get an additional 150 files a month. And at that level, you also unlock the ability to integrate your email. So this is that, not exactly like you said. It's not like we're creating new features that you have to learn. We're just helping you do the same thing you're already doing better,
yeah,
right? So now you've unlocked the ability to have partial white labeling, and so you can add in your logo instead of the Ashore logo. You can do your own email, and then at the premium plan, which I think actually we confuse a lot of people. It starts at 165 a month, but that includes 5 users.
mhm,
So that's kind of a fixed rate until you go over 5 users, and that allows you to add more people as you grow,
yeah,
right? And that's the goal. Is like, what's the most fair way that we can grow with you,
mhm,
right? As we make your organization, we help you be more successful. And as you become more successful and need more things, or you want to improve your processes, like, well, that's a plan that grows with you.
mhm,
Um, the premium plan is essentially unlimited files and it's unlimited storage. Um, it's it's fully white labeled from the domain to the colors on screen to the labels and on the screen in every multiple languages. And what we've actually done more recently for both the standard and the premium plan, if I can give a little insight into the
Yeah.
future, um, we are taking our white labeling one step further, and we're preparing for a world where Ashore has customer portals. And already today, if you have a custom domain in Ashore, so you have like proofs.screenprint.com,
Hmm.
right? And you log into it, you'll now see your logo on the authentication screens, like login, your logo when you're logged in, and essentially we're beginning to now white label the back end of Ashore as well,
Hmm.
because there's a upcoming release for us that will enable you to turn on the ability for your approvers to log in to Ashore, into your version of Ashore, the white labeled version,
Mm.
where they can see their proofs and they can make approval decisions from it. So if you have a customer that has a ton of proofs, now they will have a customer portal.
Mm. That's great, because one of the things that happens a
Yeah,
lot in screen printing is, and a lot of printing is reorders, things that, hey, I
yeah,
want to reprint the one I did last year, and
yeah,
it'd be really great if a customer has access to something to go back and actually find that information and reference that specifically. Like, one thing I add that
yeah,
we didn't
that's right.
talk about is the ability to do custom fields on your proofs, and I put a art proof ID that I give all of my artwork, that I keep track of in Airtable. I just put that on the proof so that it's there, and it gets attached, and so a customer could go back and say, hey, this ID, I want to do this one again, so I know exactly what that's like. So that's a
Yeah,
really cool feature. That's
yeah,
quite the value add too.
yeah, yeah. That's something we're planning on releasing at the end of this year. It's a really big feature,
Yeah.
but we've already made significant progress toward that. The one prerequisite, if I can, kind of be transparent on what that roadmap looks like. There are use cases where your approver might actually be an Ashore user.
Mm.
If
Oh, right.
they're using Ashore, you're using Ashore, and what you do need is the ability to log into multiple accounts. So there's a requirement here for us that we need to enable workspace management,
Mm.
more of a technical thing than anything, but making sure that no one gets left behind. And immediately after that, it's customer portals.
Yeah, that's a good call out, and especially in the screen print industry, because what will happen a lot of times with smaller shops getting started, I know I did this, is, I send out orders that I wasn't comfortable handling or didn't have time to handle up front, but I didn't want to turn away the business when I'm getting started. So there could be
Right.
a world where, one of my followers maybe gets on a shore, has their account, and then they outsource an order to me. But then, like you said, they're going to need to access a portal version, but then their own workspace version. So, yeah, that's a good call
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. 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 That's kind of what we're planning for the rest of Q4. Really, really excited about it. We did a little in-app survey inside of Ashore, and it was like overwhelmingly, this is what people wanted.
Yeah.
And like, of course, if you don't have a web to print or MIS solution that has a customer portal, and like a lot of Ashore users and a lot of, early stage printers don't have like a full on MIS
Hmm.
solution. um, this is a really good option for you just to have a professional customer portal.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to just wrap up here and just let people know, again, then obviously the name of the platform's Ashore. What's the domain for where they can actually read?
Ashore app,
Okay.
ashoreapp.com. Yeah.
AshoreApp.com. So everything will obviously be in the description for this. AshoreApp.com. Cody has been kind enough to offer a discount to the followers who are watching this. But there's a specific way we need to actually get that. You want to let us know the right way to get that discount? I think we need to sign up for an account first,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and and then click the
Yep.
link.
Create an account, and then click on the link in the description, which is going to include a promo code and get you the percent off on your
Yeah,
subscription.
yeah. So that's going to be 20% off. I believe it's forever for as long as they maintain that subscription,
Yep.
right?
That's right.
Which
That's right.
is just as generous as the free plan. So I appreciate your willingness to do that. I'm excited to hear the feedback from the followers who give the platform a try, because I think I've yet to find a reason why a print shop should not use it. I think there are some other. One of the big players in shop management software is Printavo, and it does have some
Hmm.
proofing capabilities built into it. But I've always been a fan of having a dedicated platform for something that's really valuable. And so I think there's value in having a dedicated invoicing platform. There's value in having a dedicated proofing platform, and having one that is a sort of a jack of all trades can sometimes limit your capabilities. And so I think Ashore
Yeah.
plays a great role in being um, expert on this one area. So um,
100%.
yeah,
A lot of these other tools, and not to dismiss Printavo or anybody else in any way, but proofing is always an
yeah,
afterthought. It's something they just kind of bolt on. They don't do the automation like we do. They don't have the customer experience that we do. They don't do the white labeling or the checklist. Like, this is what we do,
yeah,
right? And it'll be the difference between just sending something where someone can view something online and sending something that helps you get approval faster.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, be on the
Yeah.
lookout for more demos. I'm going to be posting on the channel. So if you follow me on YouTube, be sure you keep an eye out for that. Continuing to showcase my use of Ashore. And again, as I reached out to Cody because I just believe in the platform. I think it's a great fit for the screen print audience, and the screen print businesses in general. So I'm excited to see others get onto it. But Cody, thank you for taking the time to share, how you got started and your passion around Ashore. I just appreciate your willingness to share and join me here on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this interview. Reach out to Cody if you and his team if you have any questions. AshoreApp.com. He's got a great team around him that will help you get onboarded onto the platform. But if you have questions, you could also reach out to me. And if I can't find the answer, then we'll direct you towards Cody's team. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity and a great thing to at least give a shot to. So let me know what your experience is, and I'm excited to hear the feedback. All right. Thanks again to Cody for agreeing to come onto the podcast and share his story and share a little bit about Ashore and how they created it, what they created it for, and the importance of having a quality proofing system and having these workflows and dedicated places for your clients to leave feedback on a proof and leave those approvals. I love the checklist that he talked about, requiring the customers to agree to certain things that they are agreeing that this is actually approved and it's ready to move forward in production and that they understand the implications once they click approve. So thanks again to Cody. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I hope you will take the time to give Ashore a try. I want to know what you think. So let me know once you've given it a try. If you have any questions about it, the support on his team is really great. They're always super quick, and they're very knowledgeable, so they can help you with any issues you might have, or you can reach out to me and I can either help you or forward you on to them as well. So be sure you give that a try if you decide to upgrade to the different plans. Again, like Cody said, you need to create the account first, and then you come back here to this video and you click the link in the description. You use that promo code Startup Screen Printing, and it will get you 20% off forever for as long as you maintain that plan. So if you end the plan, then of course you don't get any percent off. But for as long as you have that account, then you will have 20% off, which I think is, again, incredibly generous. So I really appreciate his willingness to do that for the screen print industry. So that's it. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next episode.